Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome, one and all, to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. My name is Charles, and with me today, as always, is my lifelong friend and co-host, Dylan.
I'm ready to talk some fantasy with my friend, Charles.
I am ready to talk some fantasy with my friend as well, Dylan, and not just any fantasy today. Because today we have entered, I guess, the end of the era, the end of a season for one of fantasy's hottest shows, House of the Dragon. We just ended season 2. It's over. It's done. That's it. No more.
Yeah.
And you may feel like, there's 8 episodes. You'd think there'd be 2 more. You know, we get this big battle, 10-episode season. Nope. We're done. See you in 2 years.
Wait, that was the last episode? It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Oh man, next week's going to be crazy. Nope.
Yeah, right? Yeah, 2 years from now is going to be wild, Charles.
It's going to be lit.
And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, for me, the suspense, it's just going to be the next 2 years, never going to lower. I'm going to come in hot for the next season. But yeah, I mean... Well, I think we're kind of starting to get at where the conversation is inevitably going to head here already. So let's just give the patented spoiler warning. I think we said patent pending, so I'm going to say that it's gone through.
Whoa.
I think we said that in our previous episode, patent pending. So
we haven't even applied.
It's through, everyone.
Yet.
We've got
it. It's just been pending.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you haven't yet watched the first 2 seasons of House of the Dragon, then now is a good time to turn this down in your headphones because we're going to get into this whole season. We'll try to keep the Game of Thrones, like the original show, spoilers pretty light if we can. And if we do start talking about it, we'll give you a heads up before we drop any of those spoilers. But anyway, Charles, let's get into it. I think that the elephant in the room probably is that feeling that it's not even that the final episode was bad. Like, I didn't feel like the episode was bad.
No.
I actually felt like a lot of the episodes to close the season were quite strong. It's just that it feels like a strange choice. It feels weird to... I was like, is there another half hour of this episode left or something? When it cut off, I was like, what just happened? I'm like, there's 8 episodes. I even saw someone online speculating that it was having to do with the writer's strike and maybe they initially meant to have it be 10 episodes. I don't know if that's true at all, but it has that feel to it. It's like, it felt like the 8th or even the 9th episode of a 10-episode season, and instead it's our finale. And that seems to be the way that a lot of people felt after this, and seems like you too, Charles. We haven't really talked about this yet. So.
No, we haven't. And I was enjoying it the whole time, and then I remember having this feeling about halfway through, and they were still like nowhere close to fighting, and I was like, is this like a 2-hour-long episode? You know, sometimes shows do that where one episode is just like crazy long. And I was like, are they doing that, or are they going to end it before the battle? And I wasn't sure. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to end it before the battle. They're going to keep us, are they going to, who starts a season with just a crazy battle out of nowhere? It seems a little interesting, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more talking in rooms and one person sneaking into the other person's castle. They have to do that about 6 more times.
Yeah, that's happened how many times?
God, when Alicent just appeared in Daenerys' throne room, I was like, are you kidding me right
Rhaenyra?
now? Like, Rhaenyra.
We did get some Daenerys.
We did get
a little Daenerys in this episode.
Some iconic Daenerys moments. Yeah, snuck their way in for sure. But it's just like, how many times are we going to just sneak into each other's I mean, she said that she just went right in the front door, but it's like, why? this has never happened in history where like one opponent just walks into the door of the others like during combat. It's just a crazy thing that they've done like 5 times in this whole season, 8 episodes. And I think it was Damon sneaks in, and then the twin sneaks in, and then
Eric
Rhaenyra
no one
sneaks
knows
in.
to this day.
R.I.P. Rhaenyra sneaks in. And then now Allison sneaks in. That's at least 4. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. But it's just like, guys, stop with this. Any excuse to just have 2 people in a room. It's like the most boring scenes ever. But it was fun. I mean, I really did enjoy it. Like, the performances were very good. I was just laughing. I was like, could show us anything else. Like, anything else. Or just, cut all that out and just put a battle scene in instead. There's like so many other choices.
I mean, I hate to say this because I did enjoy the season, and now I feel like we're gonna lambast it, but there's certain things that it deserves a little bit of criticism for, and definitely the sneaking back and forth into each other's castles a million times, like, and to be just you blatantly using plots from Lindsay Lohan movies like The Parent Trap all over the. I was waiting for some Herbie Fully Loaded. It was like, I don't know how that would work, but I assume the car would be a dragon in some capacity. I don't think I watched that movie, but I feel like that deserves some criticism. And what also does is, I think there was a little bit of a overestimation on the part of the writers, I guess would be the people to put this on, in terms of what we consider as audience members to be like very compelling or like high stakes. And I'll say that because I stopped watching after the episodes, Charles. I couldn't do it anymore. I haven't watched like the last 3. But when I did watch, I remember the one, 2 of them come to mind. One is the like Eric versus Eric scene, that episode, and they're talking about like how emotional it is and blah, blah. And I'm like, I get it. Like, the idea of brother fighting brother, a classic Civil War type stuff, and one of them kills the other, and then he dies by suicide after that. It's like, that is very heavy, weighty stuff, but you have to make us care about the characters first for us to be like, what a moment. Like, it's a big moment on the Wikipedia page, but it doesn't feel like a big moment to us. And I'll say the other one is the moment where Rhaenyra sneaks into it's a lot of the moments of sneaking into castles, although that was most of the season, to be fair. And Rhaenyra sneaks into the castle and talks to Alicent, and that was the final scene of one of the episodes. And I think they thought they were ending these episodes on a bang. And instead, they were ending on, like, another conversation between 2 characters. I know that at that point, Alicent and Rhaenyra hadn't interacted in a long time. So it was kind of interesting that they were, but I just didn't, like, the end of that episode, I wasn't like, whoa, the way that I was after the freaking dragon fight,
Oh, yeah.
And it felt the same at the end of the season. It's like, the basically last scene, not quite, but the basically last scene was, again, like Rhaenyra and Alicent having a conversation. This time, it was what in the sports world they call it a home and home, Charles. It's like, so that means that they did one on Alicent's home turf, and then they went and did another right after.
Home field advantage, for sure.
Yeah, on Rhaenyra's home court, So it's kind of, I do one, you do one. All of it kind of amounted to nothing. I would say the closest it is a draw in soccer. A 0-0, 0-0 draw is kind of what it felt like in the end. And it's just like, I think the writers thought these moments were hitting really hard for their audience. When, let's be real, based on people's responses, the moments that hit really hard were just giant dragon battles that end in dragons killing dragons and fire and like that kind of stuff. And I don't know, we got like one battle in the whole season. And I'm sorry, I know I just went really long, Charles, but that was
No, you're 100% right. And the battle was really just like dragons burning people, and then there was a dragon fight, which was very cool. But even then, battle is stretched, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know, because season 1 was very much like a character-driven family drama, and you had this big cast of really strong actors and characters. You had Otto Hightower, you had Viserys Targaryen, you had the Sea Snake, you had Rhaenys. Gosh dang it. You had them all. and then you had young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, and like all of that stuff when it was a contained family drama was very cool. And I feel like this season kind of was this awkward teenager phase where like the hormones were coming in and they were starting to get to the big Game of Thrones-esque sprawling war battle stuff, but they weren't able to quite depart from the character-driven stuff. But now all the characters are separated and pretty much at war with each other, even though they deny it pretty much the whole season until like 2 episodes ago. And that just forced us to have conversation over conversation of, oh, war's a bad thing. Oh, but we can't avoid it. You've already started it. Oh, but we could stop it. Like, nonstop on both sides. And it was just to the point where it's like, can't these characters just, like, do stuff and, like, go out into the world? Like, it was interesting when we got to see the Vale and the North. And even we got to see a little bit of... Was that in Dorne where you have the 3 pirate lords? It looked like...
No, I thought that was somewhere in Essos.
Essos, okay. So, well, it shows what I know. But it was, you get to see some of that. So it's like, why do we need to constantly meander around when we already know where the show's going? They're going to war. They're going to fight each other. Like, we don't need to, like, weigh the consequences of that as much. It was interesting when they were a young family and their drama paralleled society and generational conflict and civil war at large, right? But now we're there, it happened, and we wanted to see some dragon fights. We got some really great scenes with dragons, and we had talked about the battle at the giant castle with the Strongs, and then there was the really cool. I love the scene where Rhaenyra brought in all of the Targaryen bastards and showed them the dragon, and then like chaos broke out. But she was never like, she had a great performance during that. The dragon was beautiful, like it was super cool, and she never was more queen-like to me than in that episode. And you really get the sense of the weight of responsibility of what she's fighting for. And then you get the dragon riders, and they're kind of goofballs, and then it's like they never do anything. And it's like, that's fine if you're building up to that, but I just feel like I was being like built up for something that now I'm being told it's not happening yet. 2 years. I feel like I could have just skipped this whole season and gone into whatever the first episode of season 3 is and be 70% of the way there.
I mean, I didn't think about it that way, but that's an interesting observation. I think your only thing coming into next season, you'd be like, what happened to Rhaenys? Wait, what happened to... there'd be like a couple characters, you'd be like, what happened to them? But in terms of understanding... yeah, exactly.
Where's Otto Hightower? Which, that was the most confusing freaking thing ever, when they showed Otto Hightower for like 2 seconds, just randomly out of context, and then cut away. And you're like,
he's like in prison.
Is he just like... Yeah, is he in prison? Is he like just having a rough morning?
Captured or something.
He's like, and I'm like, are we supposed to like? Why did we cut to Otto Hightower right now? And why are we cutting away? It was like the most bizarre directing choice I have ever seen. And it does kind of feel like, Dylan, to your point, because I had read speculation too, that this was kind of, they started going down one path and then had to cut the episode numbers short. Which, if true, explains what they've done. And I get it, battles and dragons are expensive and they, had a lot of crazy stuff going on. It just seems like a management timing thing for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think people are frustrated because they were fed a story of, oh no, we actually feel like 8 is better for the story we're trying to tell. And that, at least for me, Charles, that opens up some old wounds, because I'm pretty sure the last season of Game of Thrones, which was widely panned and disappointing for just about everyone, including us, was also 8 episodes, if I'm correct, and also was like, wait, like, I feel like there's a lot more to do here.
Right.
But the pacing is very different to compare. Like, the final season of Game of Thrones felt rushed. This season of House of the Dragon, I would say for the most part, felt slow and then just stopped. And I think people
There's
are...
actually only 6 episodes of season 8 of Game of Thrones.
6? Oh, wow. That hurts. That hurts to hear.
Yeah.
How? 6?
6,
but they were
bro.
long. They were long as crap.
I had to go to 2
they?
different websites to confirm. I was like, was it really?
They were really long, though. Like, several.
They were
of the
all
episodes,
60
right?
minutes.
Really?
According to a quick Google search, they're all 60 minutes.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's clear.
But it's one of those things where you remember, right? And it's like, that is so short. Like, oh, wait, did they... Hold on. I don't know. Maybe... who knows?
I feel like some episodes were longer. Like, you're telling me the...
Yeah, I need to go to IMDb.
The battle... I don't want to spoil things, but there was a big battle that was, your main takeaway from it was it was dark.
Was this episode? 1 hour and 22 minutes. So it literally says 60 minutes on, like, the front page of Google, and then I go into IMDb, and it's an hour and a half. So, yeah, that's... Man, Google is slipping.
Was that the AI thing where it does like
I
the
don't
AI?
know. It listed all the episodes separately. They all had a thumbnail and everything. So
Their AI thing on Google right now is like terrible. Like, you search something and it gives you like nonsense answers. I think they bought it from Reddit or something, and they keep trying to use it. But anyway,
yeah, episode 6 is an hour and 20 minutes to the finale, and it has an IMDb rating of 4 out of 10, 265,000 reviews.
Hey,
brutal.
Charles, look up this episode of House of the Dragon, the most recent one. I'm kind of curious because I know that the most highly rated episode was the dragon fight episode. I think that was episode 4. And yeah, I would imagine this one. It's just weird because, like I said, I don't think it was a bad episode. It was just strange to be the final episode, and I could see the frustration boiling over because of that messaging of, oh, we thought this was better for the story. Instead of, like, if it had to be 8 for some weird reason other than the story, just say that, and then people will be like, oh, yeah, well, this was really supposed to be 10, and that's why this is a little weird. And they probably take it better that way, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So the number 1 rated episode is episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold. And then I think it's lowest rated, is the finale, 6.3. So not bad. A big drop off.
6.3 is not good for like an episode of like HBO show that's supposed to be like
below big. 7 is not where you want to be.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's frustration right there from the fan base.
It's significantly lower than the others. Significantly. Yeah. None of the others are below 7. Oh wait, no, the episode Small Folk also, which was episode 6. That was when I believe Allison got attacked by the fish when she was leaving the we never talked about that one. We just skipped that one when we were doing our
we kind of were doing every 2 episodes, and then we didn't do after episode 6, but I guess there wasn't that much to talk about for us there. And I mean, this conversation's supposed to be kind of an overall, let's talk about the season. We've obviously focused a lot on the finale, and much like, I guess, the people who are responding via their IMDb votes, it kind of left a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouths. But if we take a step back and think about the season, much of it was quite good. The acting is strong. It's cool seeing the dragons. So we do get a lot of these pretty epic moments. So I want to give them credit for that. I do find myself returning, Charles, to your idea of like, what if you just skip this season? And I mean, I don't know. That was kind of compelling for me. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm like,
you're like, they found really some more Dragon Riders. Cool. I didn't need to see that. Yeah. I'm happy that I didn't waste 6 hours of my life or 8 hours of my life watching that. You know, but it's not a waste. Harsh. Like,
do you feel you wasted 8 hours of your life, Charles?
No, I happily watched every minute of this. Like, it looks incredible. Like, even when it's just people talking, I'm absorbed. And I like a lot of these main characters I really like. Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat. I like Aegon. I like all of the dragon characters. Like, I'm in it. You know, Paddy Constantine, my boy Viserys, made a couple cameos, and he stole the show every time. And yeah, just absolutely great. It's just so funny because when that episode ended, and for the past couple days now, just on my front page, you know how Reddit sometimes will recommend subreddits to you?
Yeah.
It recommends me
it's
this
actually super annoying most of the time.
It's super annoying. It's like, it does am I the a-hole constantly. I'm like, I try blocking it 100 times. I'm like, I don't care about people's fake stories, rage bait stories. Stop pushing this to me. But it's pushing me it's all these House of the Dragon things that people just absolutely hating on the show. And one is literally just a shot of the showrunner, and it just says, I effing hate this MFer now. And that's the post.
Wow.
I mean, it's like people are hating, and they're, you know, it's posts full of people being like, even the actors hate what happened, and then, here's how it's different from the books. Book characters were so much better. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know. I don't feel as strongly as that. Like, I never read the books. And even still, like, to me, an adaptation owes nothing to preserve what happened in the books. It's an adaptation for a reason. So, like I'm okay with that.
It's also a weird one.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Charles. No, go ahead. I was just saying fans are frustrated.
They are frustrated, and I think they have a right to be... I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Charles. I'm like, do I hate the showrunner now? Definitely not.
This dumb mug on the end after the episode, though, annoys me, but I don't hate him.
Charles, my life, my mental health, my wellness, it's all significantly improved since I stopped watching after the episodes. I'm like, my skin has cleared up.
Nice.
Yeah.
You get to skip the mobile ads. It's good.
Right. Yeah.
I cannot believe they spend so much money making this beautiful, like, tragic, dramatic show, and then they just show you the cheapest, most, like, clickbaity, horrible mobile ad before bookending it. They spend millions to make these beautiful dragons flying through the sky, fighting each other, characters in tears, giving, like, award-winning performances, and then... Which dragon will you pick? Get 5,000 power gems. You're our first dragon egg. And you're like, what? Dude, I literally watched a kid get beheaded in front of his mom, and now you're feeding me mobile ads? Like, this is the most ridiculous thing in the whole world. It just totally undercuts it. It's like mobile ads can't be making them that much money that they needed to do that. So it's like all that kind of stuff you feel like is getting in the way of what is really... a really good show with a lot of talent behind it and a lot of support behind it. So it's just like, can we break through some of this stuff and like get the show on the road? And they will deliver along the road. I have no doubt. Like, they're gonna show the battle and it's gonna be awesome. So if we have to wait for that, so be it. it just seems weird to like build up to it and then not show it and act like that was a totally cool normal thing to do. Like fans wouldn't have some kind of like, wait, what reaction, because I'm sure we all did.
Yeah, I mean, it was an entire season essentially of build up after it felt like it's like, okay, end of the first season, there's the moment where it's Luke, right? The younger brother, Jace's younger brother.
Yep.
Lucerys or whatever his name is. So there's that freaking epic scene, which, by the way, comparing the season finale, like final scenes, is it does not look good for the end of season 2 compared to the end of season 1. Like that was an incredible scene, and you've got like the silhouette of the dragon over the other dragon. It's like amazingly shot, an epic moment with huge stakes going on, right?
Yep. And you see this moment on Aemon's face too. He's usually such like this manic, villainous like character, and you see that shock and regret kind of flash on his face. Like great performances too. Like just really, really good.
Oh, I love Aemon. He was the highlight of this season from a like just from an interest in a character standpoint. I mean, anyway, it was an awesome end to the first season, and then we're like, oh damn, like we'll keep it clean on the old clean podcast, but the crap just hit the fan, and the next season's gonna be wild. Yeah. And then we end this season and we're like, okay, like that was a lot of build up, but next season's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be like, how
crazy,
did that happen?
I don't know. Like, and then it makes you feel like, okay, it better not happen again. And I think some of this is like, okay, going back to the books, it's a very, or the book, I should say. I haven't read Fire and Blood, so take this all with a grain of salt. But what I do know from skimming it at the bookstore is that you're getting the best stuff here.
That's right. Well researched.
Yes. I don't want spoilers. I want to watch it on TV. And part of why I want to do that is because
of House of the Dragon snark Reddit threads. Like,
yeah,
that's my research.
Research, yeah. So it's mostly memes. But anyway, looking through the book and knowing about it without having read it is that it's a historical accounting of the Targaryen family history. And it's not written in the style of like a Song of Ice and Fire series. It's not like, and like set the scene and then long dialogue exchange and we're in the point of view of this character and then we rotate to the next one. It's not written in that style. And it's like to say, oh, the characters were way better in the books and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know. That seems like kind of a false equivalence to even start doing. I mean, I can't speak to specifics of how they maybe change certain aspects of characters, so I'll keep an open mind, but it seems like kind of a weird comparison to begin with. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of what's going on is how long is the actual and there's something I'm sure we can look up. How long is the actual story of the like Dance of Dragons or whatever it's called that is this part of the Targaryen history? Because it's a big book, but it starts with Aegon the Conqueror comes to conquer Westeros, and that's a section of the book. And I don't know how many there are, but it's only eventually that we get to this section of the book. Like, how many pages is it? And they're going to stretch it over 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 5? Who knows? I haven't heard anything definitive. So I think that is part of why it can feel really slow, is they want to make a lot of money. They want to show a lot of mobile ads. And, and they're going to keep doing it,
That's
Charles,
where the real money is, baby.
Yeah, until you get the mobile game, okay?
We would be a great place to advertise a House of the Dragon mobile ad. Just saying, up until today, we would have been the perfect place. We would have been like, oh, I'm hatching my dragon egg right now. I just need 50 more gems.
They finally got to you, Charles, and now you've lost our chance at our best possible sponsor.
Bummer.
Yeah,
that's on me, guys. Well, it is what it is.
Forget
There's always
Audible.
another mobile ad sponsor.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Candy Crush has made a lot of changes.
Words with Friends.
Right.
This shows how old we are, dude. We can't be saying Candy Crush and Words with Friends.
That's
we
like
have to say something else. What are the kids playing?
I don't know. The House of the
TikTok?
Dragon mobile. Fall Guys.
Yeah, Fall Guys.
Mobile version. I don't know. It's my mom plays Candy Crush for what that's worth.
I don't know anybody that plays Candy
riveting
Crush.
Riveting content.
Does your mom play Candy Crush? Put in the comments, man. In the below.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but I am gonna, Charles, if you can get us back on track, I'm gonna see if I can find how many pages this section of the book is, and I'll get back to
Good luck searching there. Yeah, I can jump in and just to say that, like, there was some things in this episode that I did enjoy. Some of the bigger ones being pretty much what we got with. I actually really liked the Pirate Kings at the beginning. I was kind of on board with that, and you had the Lannister twin there, and he was like trying to get these Pirate Kings to agree to run through the blockade that the Sea Snake had set up, that Corlys had set up, and that was kind of fun to see. I'm like, why are we waiting till the end of the season to see this? How many times did we have to see Corlys talk to his bastard son at the same dock in front of the same set all season? And we could have been showing scenes of this kind of what do you call it, in politics, when you go to another country and you're like the person that's working on their public relations. What the heck is that?
I don't know. It made me think diplomatic immunity.
Yeah,
but
they're like a diplomat, basically. They're on a diplomatic mission. That's kind of interesting. That would be a good B-plot for a show like this, where we're somewhere else entirely and we're doing diplomatic missions. We got some of it, but it seems so sprinkled that we didn't get enough of it. Game of Thrones and just Westeros in general is so rich with lore and characters and culture. We could have gone anywhere and seen anything, and it would have been interesting. But we just got a lot of Corlys doing a whole lot of nothing. And his cinematic end to his character arc in season 2, he named his ship the Queen That Never Was. And we're supposed to care about that. I don't know. I'm sorry, bro. You killed your whole family. I don't care.
What?
His whole family's dead, dude. His brother's dead. His wife's dead. His kids are dead. Well, he got them all involved in this crap and then proceeded to do nothing and watch them all die one by one by one until he's literally the last one. He's got 2 grandkids, and that's it. If you think about it, his whole immediate family is dead. I mean, we know Laenor is faked his death and escaped, but to Corlys, his whole immediate family is dead, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But he's got a cool ship that he had the whole time.
And the actor has gravitas and
so good.
I think that is part of what can be frustrating. Is they're like, why are you using this guy in this way when he's capable of so much more? And
speaking of Charles, an actor with gravitas that was capable of so much more, Damon all season.
Oh, Damon. Okay, we'll get there, but let's go back to this. How long is the story? And also, interestingly, how much was covered by season 1 and how much was covered by season 2?
Oh,
okay?
People are already doing
so this is interesting, I think.
Okay, let's hear it.
according to The Ringer, House of the Dragon story stems from about 250 total pages. So we're comparing that, let's say, to any single season of Game of Thrones is likely based on about like 1,000 pages, let's say, right? Like from it's usually just taken from one of the Song of Ice and Fire books and just put on the screen, one book, one season. Usually those books are around 1,000 pages. They get longer as the series goes along, but whatever. So this is like this whole, let's say, whatever it's going to be, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons, whatever, is a quarter of one season of Game of Thrones. But like I said, it's not written in a way that is like beat for beat as much as A Song of Ice and Fire. It's more historical text, so a lot of things can happen in 250 pages. So how many of those things were covered by the first season? This is, now we're going more toward Reddit, so should we take it with a grain of salt? Probably a little bit, but there seems to be some consensus. And also this winteriscoming.net says the same thing that the people on Reddit are saying. Season 1 covers roughly 78 pages of that 250. Okay. And then, how many
they like
do
aged the
you,
characters
Charles?
Up, they did all that stuff.
Yeah. How many do you think were covered by season 2?
I'm going to say 35.
You're not too far off. The range that so the top comment on Reddit, and I guess to give credit to this person, it's Baguette72. So they got 103 upvotes, and they said they checked, and it's a total of 23. Episode 8 didn't even cover half a page. That's the top comment. So we know there's a lot of negative sentiment on Reddit right now, as you mentioned, Charles. But the range I'm seeing is pretty much 23 to like the most anyone's saying is like 30-ish. 33 is the highest that I am seeing. But for the most part, people are saying closer to that like 23 page number. That is not a lot. And it makes you feel kind of back to that idea of like, are we just stretching this thing out because it makes a lot of money and that mobile game is such a hit? It's like, we're giving it
Gotta think about the mobile game.
Yeah. So it's like that kind of stuff can be frustrating. And then it's like, okay, how long is it going to be? And one of the telling answers is we'll give it to Emotional Cucumber 4, who said that it was the 100 pages they made up. So, and that's the second, or actually that is the most upvoted comment. It's just not the top one on here.
Interesting.
So I guess a lot of book readers are frustrated because perhaps time was wasted going in directions that were not even in the books. So
time was wasted, and also like I don't know. There were multiple times. Like the show was beautifully shot. Like all the set pieces were gorgeous. The framing of the shots were excellent. But there's sometimes like things would happen, and I would just get so confused. Like when they showed Otto Hightower, I was like, "What the hell is this?" It was like the weirdest like out of body thing ever. I'm like, did they accidentally leave a piece of footage in the episode? And then I do also remember Dylan. Like, I know for sure that one of the bastard dragon riders, right, the more mature one,
yes,
the older one. He had this whole thing was he pled to the king for money, and the king said yes, and then he never got it, and then his daughter was sick. I just remember, do you remember, did you have a reaction that I did of when they were all of a sudden, it was him and his wife talking, and it's like, our daughter died, and I was like, she died? When did that happen?
Yeah, I actually did have the same reaction, but
I guess I didn't need to see it, but it was like really weird that they shot it like, this is well-trodden ground, like we knew this, you know? For a show that has no problems hitting you over the head sometimes with stuff, there were moments in this that felt like editing challenges of like, okay, we need to move some of this stuff along. Like we can't give Otto Hightower any lines, but we could just film him huddling in a corner somewhere. See if you can find some footage on the cutting room floor to just splice in here to let us know that he's around. And then just kill the daughter off screen. Like, don't even like mention it. Keep going. And you're like, okay, then why did we even have scenes with him at all if we don't care who he is? I do not care who this guy is at all. None of his scenes were interesting. The character is not interesting. The only interesting thing about him is that he was a badass when he was like doing his thing with the dragon, like touching its nose. Like that was cool. But we could have known nothing about him before then, and it would have been just as cool as if we had these weird scenes that were massacred on the cutting room floor of what happened to this guy. This is absolutely massacred. It's like the wife character that he just like straight up pieces out on. Like, okay, like I don't blame him. I mean, a little bit. Like I can understand that decision, but
well, presumably now that he was able to get the dragon, he'll be bringing her along for the ride.
He didn't seem to really care about her at the end of the season. That's for sure.
Well, she's gonna show up in the next season, and she's gonna be. He said for her, Charles. He said, like, oh, if I get to be a dragon rider, like, our lives will be better, blah, blah, blah. I mean, anyway, but your overall point is well taken. And I think it is weird. I just assumed I, like, forgot the part where the daughter died, but since you had the same reaction, perhaps it was just completely off screen. And either way, like, sometimes I'd be watching those scenes with him before I knew what the deal was going to be, and I'd just be like, like, what is the point of this? Like, is this just, like, see how it's affecting the common people? And it's like, okay, like, I guess I can get behind that. Like, I don't know. And it's harsh. I do kind of, I care about him because he seems like a decent dude, which is more than I can say for a lot of people, but
I could see where they want to show his complicated history with the crown. I think that's interesting because he was promised and he believed that he was going to get some kind of salvation in taxation relief and food and this and that, and then never got it. But it doesn't seem to really amount to anything when you think of all the time spent on all that stuff. Could have been used for anything else. I don't know. It's tough to say because you can't have every scene be expensive action-packed dragon riding stuff. So you gotta pad it with something, but I don't know.
And one thing that they padded it with, Charles, and I think this is kind of the last main
Patty
thing
Constantine?
I think is, unfortunately, not enough of they didn't patty it, they padded it. But so the last thing I think we really need to discuss to do service to this episode is Daemon. You mentioned Daemon.
Yeah.
And we kind of didn't discuss Daemon a lot in our previous episodes. Like we discussed like Aemond a lot. We discussed Aegon. We like those kind of things. We didn't discuss Daemon very much because he doesn't do a lot. And we got some good scenes from him. Like I found it interesting when like he beheaded the guy who was doing his dirty work and that kind of stuff. Like we get these like Daemon's morally gray. Like the thing I think George likes to say about him is like he's villainous and heroic in equal parts. And we do get to see that in some moments. But in general, he doesn't really do a lot. And while I did really like the scene where I like that he like touches the weirwood tree and then we get all that vision stuff, and then he presumably, which I didn't just like explain to us explicitly, which was nice, he was like, oh, like all my petty BS, I need to put that aside because we need to be united. And then he just bends the knee to Rhaenyra. And it's like, that was a cool scene. And after the whole season, like what he was doing, it did feel rewarding in that moment. But then I find myself returning to the Charles theorem of perhaps not having to have watched this season. And it's like, wait, so all that was just like now he's exactly back where he started, which is serving Rhaenyra and being her king consort, and the only thing he really accomplished was getting Riverrun on their side, like, or the Riverlands, I should say. Like, I don't know. Like, that's not a lot to have done and then just end up in the same exact
especially a
spot.
character that's...
I did like the scene, though.
I like the scene. What I really liked about how that ended was the fact that by the end of this, you have really, for the Blacks' case anyway, that there's this like divine providence to their claim to the throne that to me is super interesting and one of the compelling reasons that make this a true conflict, because you want to root for them. The only thing I'll say is that throughout this season with Daemon, though, and they keep being like, oh, the weirwood trees, the visions, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna follow Rhaenyra, or are you gonna make your own run for the throne? And no one really knows. It's like I don't it was good for a moment, but I mean, he was such a charismatic character in the first season, and he was doing so much interesting stuff. And at one moment, he was wearing a crown and threatening Otto Hightower with the dragon, and the next, he's helping his brother up the steps to the throne in a moment of compassion. Like, he's such a great actor. It's such a great character. There's so much fun stuff that he felt almost like subdued in this season, and then just to end with, I raise this army for you. We fight. And everyone's like, yeah. You're like, that's it. That's it. But I did like when he did say winter is coming, though. You heard that loud and clear.
Oh.
So
there are these kind of like fan servicey moments in this show. Like, and one of them was too the like starting the season at the wall and that kind of stuff. It does feel like it has this almost like reunion tour type feel, you know, like sorry, Smash Mouth is back and they're gonna be playing All Star, you know. It's like, don't worry, like you thought you got enough of Smash Mouth in the 90s? No way, they're back and they're playing all the hits, and it's like not gonna hit the same in like I don't know. I think Smash Mouth, like, actually, I think the lead singer like passed away or something recently, so it was like a bad choice. But the idea,
but they're making like, a Shrek 5. It's like if halfway through Shrek 5, it's like the Force ghost of the lead singer of Smash Mouth comes out, and he's like, "Somebody once told me," and then you're like, "Oh my god, this is such a great moment." If only. Speaking of,
it's true, but we do know that Shrek 2
great
has
works of fiction with dragons.
Yeah. Shrek 2 has Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows. So Adam Duritz, alive and well, does not need to be a Force ghost. Can just show up to
exactly.
Shrek 5.
Exactly. So yeah, at the end of the day, look, winter's coming. They have that divine providence about their claim to the throne, which I like. And again, it just showed all these armies marching towards each other, all these characters finally like set up to do stuff. And so you really hope that kind of takes off finally. And I'm sure that the time invested in staying with these characters throughout this season will help deliver what is ultimately some really exciting stuff for season 3. I feel like the only reason there even is a lot of this, what I believe is going to be short-term, like, memeing on this finale, is just, like, the fact that they were trying to play it like this wasn't some sort of unfortunate meddling that happened, and, like, that they weren't going to be honest about that. On a Game of Thrones show where we've fumbled the ball so many times, you know, it was just it was too much for us, and we were so close to this, and we love it so much that we want it to be perfect and full of epic dragon battles and great character moments, that if it doesn't live up to 9.5 out of 10 every single time, we're going to have a strong reaction to it. So it may seem like we're clowning on it, but it is very good.
I will say, compared to some, we did not have that strong a reaction. We are not lashing out like that person who said they
was just posting pictures
of
of people that worked on the show and saying, I hate these mother effers.
Yeah, that's
hardcore.
Yeah, that's beyond our, like, let's critique that the pacing might have been off and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to all that, the backlash and stuff, like you're saying, Charles, they say the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. And I think when there is all this intense backlash and hatred that seems to come when Game of Thrones or now House of the Dragon doesn't deliver, it's because deep down we all love it. Like, we all love Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire, and that's why we keep tuning in. And then sometimes it hurts us, Charles, and sometimes it lets us down. And no matter how many times it does that, we're coming back at the day season 3 premieres. There's no way that, like, I know no way you or I is just like, meh. Like, that was kind of a disappointing end to season 2, so I don't think I'll watch season 3. Like, we will watch it. That person who said that they hate the showrunner is gonna watch it. All the people clowning on it on Reddit are gonna watch it. And I guess, Charles, in 2 years, we'll be back talking about season 3, episode 1. And probably enough time will pass that everyone will have chilled out some. And then maybe it'll deliver an amazing episode.
And that season 3 premiere is just gonna open up with the craziest fight scene ever, dude. I can feel it coming. Mark my words. I don't actually believe that, but the way they ended this episode, they acted like it was going to. Like they were gonna fight any second, and then it ended. So I'm really curious to see where they pick up that arc. So yeah, there we go. You know, we had this wonderful moment with Rhaenyra and Alicent, and it was what it was. It was just like, kill your son and we're cool, and then she's like, I'll think about it. and that was that. So we'll see if that comes to pass.
I think she was more like, sure. I don't think she was going to kill Aegon. I think she was just allowing events to occur that would ultimately result in Aegon's death.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Anyway,
so we'll see.
We will see, Charles. I think we've had this gave me some closure that the final episode did not. I hope this gave at least one other person out there. Just if we could just touch one life, Charles, and make a difference, and
if we could just
feel a little more closure.
One gem in the game, one dragon egg in the
mobile
House
game.
of the Dragon mobile app, like just one. You know, we get one person hooked. They could spend hundreds of dollars. One kid with their parents' credit card is all it takes to make it big in the mobile game industry.
Ain't that the truth? Well, everyone, stay tuned for the after the episode. Once the outro music is played, we'll be reviewing the things that happened. Yeah, and we'll be reviewing what happened. We'll say, oh, you see, when Charles was saying that he could have not watched this season and then just picked up with season 3, what he was doing was expressing his disappointment that season 2 did not move the plot along in as fast or as satisfying a way as he would have liked. We'll give you those kind of insights because, that's what after the episodes do.
That's what they do. They'll just explain stuff to you that you just watched.
You already know.
So, speaking of explaining stuff to you, let's play that outro music. What do you say?
Let's get that sweet, sweet outro music pumping, Charles.
Let's do it. thank you, everyone, one and all, for listening to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, the best thing to do is engage with us over on the socials. That's at the FTF Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and then at the FTF Podcast with a number 1 at the end for Twitter. Now, Dylan, if they like what they heard today and they want to support the show even more than following us and engaging with us over on social media, what can they do?
Toss 5 stars to our podcast, which you can do over on Spotify, where most of you are listening. Just click About at the top of the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast feed. Click where the stars are, and you know how many to give us. You can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That means you can say nice things about us. You can say, hey, Charles, that was really astute what you said about being able to skip season 2. I don't know, that's like it's stuck in my head now, Charles. I'm like, I really think you could have. I think you could. I mean, I wouldn't.
From a narrative point of view, maybe, but from all the great moments, you can.
Of course not. And we've had so many great moments interacting with you all, and we hope that those continue on social media, etc. But in the meantime, please follow us and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how to transition toward my
just listening
is more than enough. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well said, Dylan. Just listening is so awesome. Thank you all for doing that. You guys are great. Thank you. And as always, go forth and conquer, friends.
Like the mighty dragon.
Customize your dragon.
You should have that
Unleash
actually
the
play at the end.
dragon world.